Good morning. There we are. I wanted to say before we begin that this morning we are breaking format slightly, and they'll tell you all about the wonderful story we have to share with you this morning. Musically speaking, almost everything comes out of the first theme you're about to hear. So give a listen and see if you can hear how it weaves throughout the entire service.
Good morning. I'm Susan Alexander, today's pastoral associate. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you joining us here in person today and those of you joining us remotely. Let's take a moment to greet each other. Please turn around in your seats and wave to the camera. Give it a minute while the camera pans the room. Putting together a Sunday service at MVUU is a big production. I'd like to thank all those who make today's service happen. Our greeters who welcome people at the door, our audio-visual team that ensures that we can hear and see in person and online, our religious exploration team that cares for and educates our youngest, and our hospitality team that prepares our refreshments. I'd also like to thank our music director, Chris Taggett, and our minister, Matthew Funk Crary. Again, thank you all for showing up or tuning in today so that we can have this time together. This month's topic is dignity. I've been ruminating about the word dignity a lot lately. Dignity is commonly defined as 1, the state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect. 2, a composed or serious manner or style. And 3, respect, self-respect. These thoughts naturally brought me to the killing fields in Cambodia. My husband and I visited Cambodia in 2016. Has anybody here been to Cambodia? Oh, a few of you. We'll have to talk. The killing fields are the epitome of awful. The killing fields, as you may remember, are a number of sites in Cambodia where more than 1 million people were killed and buried by the Khmer Rouge from 1975 to 1979. The brutality was shocking. About 1/3 of the population of Cambodia was murdered during those years. An elderly man who survived the genocide led us around the Chiang Ek killing field, telling us stories I would prefer to forget. He also told us that a former Khmer Rouge guard who had partaken in the torture and murder of prisoners had moved into his neighborhood. Can you imagine? The neighbors gathered to discuss this. They knew who the man was. They didn't want the former guard as their neighbor, and they considered killing him. But as despicable as the former guard was, they couldn't bring themselves to do it. Did they respect the worth and dignity of this former torturer and executioner, or was it beneath their dignity to kill him? I am mindful that members of this congregation have expressed compassion for those agents of our government employed to deal with people immigrating to our country illegally. There is a difference between those who make the rules and those tasked with enforcement of the rules. We currently have a presidential candidate promoting the bizarre, insensitive, and false narrative that slavery was an apprenticeship program providing an opportunity for enslaved people to learn skills and become entrepreneurs. There are people who ignorantly believe this nonsense, but there are those who willingly embrace positions that support their bigotry. Truth is irrelevant to those people. And how do we react when we encounter individuals who commit atrocities or spout heinous ideas? The Unitarian Universalist first principle affirms and promotes the inherent worth and dignity of every person, not just with people with whom we find agreement. Sometimes I tell myself that although everybody has worth and dignity, that doesn't mean that they deserve access to my keen intellect, piercing insights, worldly experience, and enlightened views. You caught my facetiousness. In other words, I'm not going to dignify some comments with a response. Or, I think, live and let live. Respect this person's right to be wrong. Or, it's simply not the time or place for a rebuttal, but perhaps a deafening silence will convey my thoughts more clearly than any verbal response. Silence does not necessarily mean concurrence. I have an older brother whose IQ far, far exceeds mine. My brother was a successful CEO of several firms. He also is the antithesis of woke. When he expresses something ignorant of discrimination, injustice, or inequity, I know better than to get into a verbal sparring match with him. I'd lose. I'm speaking from 66 years of experience. I love him dearly, but he knows which buttons to push. I try not to be baited. I give him a look that conveys that I will not deign to respond. I'm much too refined to get into an argument, and he's full of horse manure. It drives him crazy. I have learned the power of silence. Silence can also provide the benefit of one taking in more information than giving out. Often, I learn something. But a person can't always and shouldn't always be silent. There are limits. An example of this are the letters I've written to several Supreme Court justices. However, the justices remain inexplicably unconvinced by my incontrovertible logic. Why do I write them? Why do I bother? Because I must. In a perfect world, we'd state our position while not undermining the worth and dignity of those who disagree. And then they'd all nod their heads and go, "Oh, now I understand how wrong I was." Yeah. Too often, my emotions get the better of me. I have been known to say things that are not only irrefutably prove my point, but undermine the worth and dignity of those who inexplicably disagree with me. Fortunately, our principles do not ask us to be perfect. We do our best. We carry on. This chalice lighting is called Drawn Together by the Reverend Jennifer Gray Grayson. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by the certainty that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world.
As we prepare for our opening hymn together, our sacred song, I do want to pose the question, what is a multi-generational service without multiple generations? It is still a multi-generational service, and we are still offering a wonderful story that reflects on dignity, and we begin with our Mountain Vista UU Covenant Song. Joel. Please rise in body or in spirit.
With love as our guide, we covenant to welcome the stranger, encourage one another, to honor diversity and ask questions loving. Trusting in all of us and our hearts beat free. With love as our hearts we covenant
Please be seated. Now, we also have, for those of you who have that need during services to do something entirely different, we have coloring pages and packets of pens and crayons just in case it helps you all, and just come and get them as you need. I invite you to a time of contemplation, of rumination, or even cognation, however you feel called. Called to ponder and wonder about this question: why are we drawn to a chalice fire, as we just sang? Or to put it another way, why is the flaming chalice a cup and a flame at the center of our Unitarian Universalist faith? Like so many religious symbols, our flaming chalice, it draws from a story. Over 80 years ago, as World War II encompassed the globe, in Europe and in the South Pacific, where fighting was the worst, people sought to escape the rising bigotry and hatred and cruelty. I'm not telling you anything new by saying it was a horrible, horrible time in our history when terrible atrocities were enacted by human beings upon human beings. And so many were forced to leave behind their homes, fleeing for their lives because of their religious beliefs or their heritage and way of life, or simply because of who it is that they loved. Many sought refuge here in our country, the United States. And yet, as the conflict and war grew, more people tried to immigrate here, and it became harder and harder to do so. The American Unitarian Association, our religious forebears, formed and funded an organization to help those immigrants. And they called it the Unitarian Service Committee. Because there were so many people with so many different backgrounds and so many languages who needed that immediate assistance, the service committee leadership thought that a single symbol would be a powerful method to communicate well beyond any words. Artist and refugee Hans Deutsch, fleeing from France, was asked to make that symbol. And he made a simple sketch which began to be used all over Europe and eventually became the very symbol of our shared faith. As Noreen Kimball, in her book, The Healing Cup, the story of the flaming chalice, describes, it showed a cup, a chalice that was used for giving a healing drink to others. It showed a flame on top of the chalice because a flame is often used to represent the spirit of helpfulness and sacrifice. In the face of grave danger, the light of our flaming chalice called Jews, Romani, gay and lesbian and transgender people, to name just a few of the groups, to find safety and the means to immigrate, the means to a new home. In the symbolic light of that flaming chalice, frightened people fleeing for their lives were saved. Thousands were saved. And all who saw it and recognized its meaning were illuminated as dignified and whole, just as they were. Think of that. That here on our altar or in the sconces, in the t-shirts and the banners and the websites and the pendants and the earrings and the jewelry, Unitarian Universalists carry our flaming chalice and we take it out into the world. We gather around its shining light for our Sunday services and our committee meetings, and when our children begin their religious exploration, we carry it into the world. Not only so that we are reminded of our history and we enact it, but that we too are illuminated by its light, as it calls all to safety, as it calls all to perceive their solitary dignity, as it calls all to witness our shared dignity in solidarity, as it calls each and all of us home. Dr. Ofelia Zepeda is a Thana O'odham elder and a Regents Professor of Thana O'odham Language and Linguistics at the University of Arizona. She's spoken during Sunday services at our sibling congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Tucson. And she is an insightful poet. When I read her poetry, I'm reminded of this particular excerpt from her collection, Earth Movements, entitled Riding the Earth. She said she felt the earth move again. I never knew whether she meant she felt a tremor or whether it was the rotation of the earth. I like to think that she felt the rotation because anyone can feel a tremor. In the poem I'm about to share, Redefining Home, she offers her beliefs, culture, and language of the O'odham people. She invites me in this poem to shift with the earth in my sense of our Sonoran Desert as my house, as my home. And she writes, a home is both the spaces inside and outside the building. A home is more than just the structure, the house, the key. Key in O'odham means both house and home. It is the aroma, the textures of the building that help us remember. The smell of the wet dirt walls, the smell of the dry dust. It is the smell of the green bush on the roof, in the walls. It is the texture. The smooth mud walls, the rough ribs of cactus and ocotillo, the branches of cottonwood, and the posts from cedar and pine. Home is a place that has the right feel, the right smell, the right sense of coolness when you touch the walls. Along with the poetry books from Dr. Ofelia Zepeda is the story of the night flower. It's a story of our home, the Sonoran Desert. It's a story of the solitary saguaro, which, as you will witness, is the center of Sonoran solidarity. Saguaro is a keystone species, supporting the dynamic structure of life with dignity. The author-illustrator Lara Hawthorne, all the way from her home in the United Kingdom, 2 minutes after I sent her an email, responded with special permission to use her words and her images. So first, thank you, Lara, if you are watching this sometime in the future, for sharing your vision and your poetry of dignity.
The desert is greeted by the climbing sun. It's vibrant and busy now that spring has begun. Can you spot the saguaros, so spiky and tall? A haven for wildlife, the large and the small. Atop the saguaros, at great lofty heights, birds can sit safely and rest from their flights. Woodpeckers tap, making holes with their beaks, little round home where they can retreat. The desert blooms pink, orange, yellow, and red, while bees, birds, and butterflies dance overhead. Bright-colored petals Call out to small beasts, enticing them nearer for nectar-filled treats. Hiding in shade beneath the sweet-smelling trees, wandering deer are enjoying the leaves. Young squirrels leap from thin branches that sway. They hope and they hide, carefree as they play. As temperatures rise, the sun bakes the hard ground. Sleepy eyes close, and there's barely a sound. Spotty-scaled lizards look out at the view, waiting for nightfall, when noise will ensue. Animals wait for the flower night show, but for now, the whole desert is sleepy and slow. A tortoise plods by in the heat of the day, while a rattlesnake rasps as it snoozes away. The desert wakes up as the temperature cools. Animals search for the precious first bloom. They head for a cactus, the tallest in sight, waiting and watching as day turns to night. As the darkness sets in, moths stir in delight, searching for flowers in the cool desert night. A fierce, furry hunter with sharp, pointed teeth howls at the sky on its little pink feet. And high on the cactus, beneath the bright moon, a tiny green bud is beginning to bloom. Its white velvet petals unfurl and reach high, and a thick, fruity fragrance fills the night sky. As more flowers wake in a chorus of scent, new creatures appear for this special event. Brown bats with black wings sense something sweet and gather to sip from this night-blooming treat. Around the saguaro, in the shining moonlight, the desert is festive and thriving tonight. Bobcats chase pack rats and ringtails climb high, while blossoms rest like stars against the night sky. At the dawn of the day, with the new rising sun, the bats hurry home to take care of their young. For the birds and the bees, there are still a few hours to visit the cactus and sip from its flowers. The desert will quiet as the day starts anew. But the busy saguaro has work yet to do. Its flowers will close and a red fruit will grow with seeds that will make a new saguaro.
Morning Air, from Ocean Power by Dr. Ophelia Zepeda. The early morning air enveloped in heavy moisture. I go outside and it lays upon my shoulders. I go about my business, carrying the morning air for the rest of the day. During our story and through our meditations, did you perceive or witness or remember that desert dignity? Was it there in the poetry or music or story or imagery? Take a moment with me just to breathe together and hold among us in our individual minds and hearts that dignity, that desert dignity. The saguaro, solitary and in solidarity, innate and inherent, a dignity of independent interdependence. And the desert itself, filled with the same solidarity and interdependence, is a home and a house. It shares its dignity with all of those who, with gratitude, return it with respect and with reciprocation. Like that Sonoran desert, our house, our home, this congregation too is a house and a home. Can you perceive that? Can you witness it? Can you recall the dignity here? If you would take a moment and just breathe in with me again. Dignity of laughter and tears, the dignity of love and passion, of success and mistakes. Can you feel the dignity alive among us? There is a mantle of dignity that the desert bestows when you recognize it as a house and a home. The morning mantle of dignity, just because you are. It's that simple. Just because you are dignified. It is on your shoulders to carry about your business as you go your way. And our Mountain Vista home, house, this place and this people offers the same. We perceive and we witness and we recall your dignity. Do you? Do you? For the next few weeks, you are invited to recognize the dignity you carry with you. That dignity that is yours, unique and beautiful and whole, along with the rest of our congregation on our dignity altar. Now, our dignity altar isn't in this room. It's in the Covenant Hall foyer, just outside of my office. And you are invited to go there and to peer into those mirrors. You can do it on Sundays or during our business days, 9 to 12, Monday through Friday. You can do it before a committee meeting if you're here. It's yours to go and to peer into. Take a moment there to perceive your dignity. You might have to close your eyes to see it. And when you have witnessed your own birthright, take a little electric votive candle like this, light it, and then place it back on the altar. And through these coming weeks, as more and more of us begin to recognize our dignity, together, we will begin to see the dignity among us. We'll begin to perceive and witness and remember our shared dignity. Now, more altars will be popping up in and around our church, inside and outside, the home and the house we share. Right now, also in our Covenant Hall, Sally and Dawn, and I can see it from here, they have crafted an altar sharing their indigenous heritage, beliefs, and culture, and you are welcome to go and to experience it. We can always express our thanks directly to the people who are creating these altars, and we can also express our thanks by treating each and every altar with reverence. As enticing as items may appear, only pick up and touch what you see when you are invited to, like these votive candles. All of these altars, and there will eventually be 7 scattered throughout the building and outside as well, are spiritual experiences that we will share of mind and heart, of body and spirit, of solidarity and being solitary, of being interdependent and independent, being whole, being human, being here. It will be a reminder to celebrate our very differences that we hold among us as we honor the dignity at the core of each and every one of you. Here within this place, our spiritual house and home, inside and outside of these walls. May it be so. Blessed be. And as I have been instructed by Leslie Gilliam, a Lakota elder, aho, aho, I am thankful. Our closing hymn is "We Sing of Golden Mornings." As you might notice, the words are adapted from the Desert Ritual Year team. This is that group that has been gathering to plan the connection between our Sonoran spirituality and the very songs and rituals and words that we share. Please rise in body or spirit and join your voices together.
We sing amazing sunsets, reflecting on the land of ranges, valleys, mountains, and desert wandering grand. We sing of flashing lightning and life bestowing rain, of birds among the branches, of monsoons come again. We sing the heart courageous, the youthful eager mind. We sing of hopes undaunted, of friendly ways and kind. We sing the blooms of wildflowers, up from the rain-soaked earth. We sing the earth's great splendor, whose beauty is our birth.
When you exit the sanctuary today, on your left, there will be two baskets. One basket is the wooden basket is for the donations to the ongoing good work of this congregation, and the woven basket is for our partner this month, which is our elementary school partnerships, Laguna and Hendrix. On the screen, okay. Two other things to mention. There will be slides for the Tucson Pride Festival, which is coming up September 29th through October 1st. Save the date. And Our Whole Lives program for 9 to 12-year-olds. Classes begin on September 10th. And we have 14 adults signed up for our adult OWL program. Our flame will be released now, and I will read The Work We Share by the Reverend Krista Taves. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us, together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be.